Have you ever, while dreaming, recognized someone you love wearing a different face, yet felt beyond any doubt that it was still them? Or wandered through a place you've never been, but remembered every hallway and every corner as if you'd lived there your whole life? Why do we forget dreams so easily, and yet return to the same one again and again, as though it were a memory left unresolved from another life? Have you ever tried to run or fight, but your body felt impossibly heavy? And why do faces long forgotten, or strangers from our daily lives, appear so suddenly in dreams, leaving us with the feeling that some hidden thread of connection has been overlooked? Welcome to Documentaries for Sleep, where we explore worlds of the past, visions of the future, and the mysteries that have followed humanity since the dawn of thought. Tonight, we turn to one of the most enduring questions of all. Why do we dream? Through the hours ahead, we'll trace the story from ancient beliefs to modern science, moving slowly and clearly to understand what dreams might truly be doing for us. Along the way, you'll hear timeless stories, real-life experiences, and a few quiet surprises. No sudden noise, no harsh edges, just a gentle journey into one of the greatest questions ever asked, and perhaps one of the most revealing answers hidden within the human mind. And so, we begin where dreams first guided humanity, long before laboratories and brain scans, when the night sky was our library and visions of sleep were seen as messages from beyond. From the dawn of civilization, humans have looked to the stars and to the shadows of sleep, searching for meaning in the mysterious world of dreams. Long before laboratories and brain scans, people believed dreams were not random at all, but sacred. Messages from gods, spirits, or ancestors. To dream was to step briefly into another world, a place where the veil between human and divine grew thin. In ancient Egypt, dreams carried both reverence and responsibility. Pharaohs and commoners alike believed the gods spoke through visions of the night, offering guidance, warnings, or blessings. Temples known as dream sanctuaries were built for those seeking answers. Within their walls, priests performed rituals meant to invite divine messages during sleep. Dreams of snakes or rivers, of birds or the sun, were carefully recorded and interpreted using elaborate manuals. In a land whose survival depended on the Nile, a dream was not merely personal, it was cosmic, bound to the balance of the universe itself. Traveling westward, the Greeks also treated dreams as bridges between worlds. They built healing temples called Asclepia, where the sick would sleep in hopes of seeing the god Asclepius in a dream. Such visions were believed to reveal cures, guiding physicians in their work. Philosophers, too, wrestled with the meaning of dreams. Plato saw them as reflections of hidden desire, while Aristotle called them echoes of the day's sensations. Yet for the ordinary Greek, dreams carried divine weight, omens of victory, defeat, or destiny. Further east, in Mesopotamia, one of the world's earliest civilizations, dreams were meticulously catalogued on clay tablets. Kings relied on interpreters known as baru to decipher symbolic imagery. A dream of fire might warn of destruction, while a dream of water could promise renewal. These interpretations shaped politics and war, reminding us how deeply dreams were woven into power and belief. Across Asia, meaning took new forms. In China, Taoist thought viewed dreams as journeys of the spirit beyond the body, while Confucian tradition saw them as moral reflections, signals of harmony or its absence. Some believed ancestors sent warnings or advice through dreams. The philosopher Zhuangzi once wondered whether he was a man dreaming he was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming he was a man. A simple question that still echoes through time, asking where reality truly begins. Among indigenous cultures across the Americas, dreams played a vital role in community and spirituality. The Ojibwe people crafted dream catchers to filter out harmful visions and let only the good pass through. For many tribes, dreams were communal, shaping songs, ceremonies, and stories. A powerful dream could guide an entire village, believed to be wisdom from the spirit world. In the vast deserts of Australia, Aboriginal peoples spoke of the dreaming, not the nightly visions we know, but a sacred realm of creation. These stories told how the land, the rivers, and life itself came into being. Dreaming was not just a myth, it was the living memory of existence, connecting the present to an eternal spiritual past. Even within the Islamic Golden Age, scholars devoted volumes to the study of dreams. Thinkers like Ibn Sirin wrote detailed treatises on interpretation, blending spiritual insight with practical wisdom. In Islamic tradition, some dreams were said to come from God, others from the self, and still others from external forces. This layered understanding saw dreams as both sacred and psychological, long before modern science began to ask the same questions. Across cultures and centuries, one truth repeats again and again. Dreams mattered. They guided rulers, inspired art, shaped faith, and gave meaning to the unknown. To dream was never merely to rest. It was to listen. To the gods, to the ancestors, to the hidden language of the mind itself. And yet, behind every ritual and every interpretation, a deeper question remained. What within us creates these visions so vivid they can change the course of lives? To find that answer, humanity would have to wait millennia, until the night sky was no longer our only laboratory, and the brain itself became the new frontier of dreaming. When we get in bed and drift into sleep, it might seem that the mind simply shuts down. But in truth, the brain is anything but silent. Behind our eyes, the windows of the soul, an entire world awakens, a landscape of rhythms, waves, and flickering light. Sleep is not one long stretch of stillness. It is a carefully choreographed dance, made of stages, each with its own pace and purpose. Scientists often divide this dance into two great acts, NREM sleep, or non-rapid eye movement, and REM sleep, where those same eyes dart beneath closed lids. Through the night, we cycle between them again and again, like chapters in a story that lasts until dawn. If you're enjoying this quiet journey, we'd love for you to subscribe, leave a like, and share it with anyone who might be having trouble sleeping. It may help them find rest, too. During the first stage, light NREM sleep, the brain begins to slow its song. The noise of the day fades, muscles loosen, heart rate falls, and waves of calm ripple through the nervous system. It's a fragile doorway, easy to disturb, yet essential for the body to let go. Then comes deeper NREM sleep, sometimes called slow wave sleep. Here, the brain becomes a patient librarian, sorting through the countless pages gathered through the day. Memories are catalogued, emotions are filed. The mind quietly decides what to keep and what to release. Cells repair themselves, toxins are flushed away, and the immune system strengthens. Without this stage, the body feels unrested, the mind cloudy. Deep sleep is our foundation. And then, something remarkable happens. About 90 minutes after falling asleep, the brain enters REM, On the outside, the body lies still, but behind closed eyes, movement begins. The eyes flicker back and forth, as though watching scenes only the dreamer can see. In this stage, the brain becomes as active as it is when awake, yet the body is held in gentle stillness. This paradox, an active mind within a resting body, is the birthplace of dreams. It opens the shelves, paints vivid scenes, and stitches memories together in ways the waking mind never could. The brain blends memory and emotion, logic and imagination, until meaning itself becomes fluid. Scientists now believe REM is vital for creativity and balance. In dreams, the mind rehearses challenges, revisits emotion, and explores solutions without consequence. It is therapy by nature's design, a nightly rehearsal for the soul. When people are deprived of REM, they grow irritable, unfocused, fragile, as though the world has become too sharp and the mind too thin to bear it. Through the night, both cycles take turns, each lasting roughly 90 minutes. Early sleep favors deep restoration. Later sleep favors vivid dreaming. By morning, we've drifted through 4 to 6 full cycles, a complete conversation between order and imagination. Chemicals shift their balance. Serotonin and norepinephrine quiet down, while acetylcholine rises, fueling the imagery that defines our dreams. It is as if the brain changes instruments, from the steady drum of logic to the wild strings of creation. During REM, the amygdala, the center of emotion, glows bright. This is why dreams feel so charged with feeling, joy, fear, longing, love. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, our voice of reason, falls silent. Rules, physics, and boundaries fade. The mind is free to wander. Even now, much remains a mystery. Why does the brain choose certain memories to replay and others to forget? Why do some dreams vanish in an instant, while others linger for years? Each night, the brain writes stories we never asked for, weaving fragments of thought, memory, and imagination into something uniquely our own. And when morning comes, we awaken changed, the body renewed, the emotions softened, the mind quietly reshaped. Most dreams are forgotten, yet their imprint remains. Small shifts in how we feel, think, and see the world. We are not quite the same people who closed our eyes the night before, but if dreams can heal, inspire, and reshape us, what about the ones that hurt? What about the nights when the mind turns its theater toward fear and chaos? Why would nature, in its wisdom, allow nightmares at all? To understand that, we have to step deeper into the shadows of sleep, where the beautiful and the terrifying meet. So if you're still with us, take a slow breath. The story is about to shift. Why do we dream at all? For centuries, philosophers, poets, and scientists have asked the same question. If the body sleeps to repair itself, why does the brain stay awake to tell stories that disappear with the sunrise? The answer may lie in what dreams do for us. Quiet work that shapes who we become. One idea stands above the rest: memory. Throughout the day, the mind collects fragments, faces, sounds, lessons, and moments of feeling. At night, it sorts them. Students who review material before sleep remember more the next day, as though dreams press the day's ink deeper into the page. Dreams, in this way, are not distractions, but part of learning itself. Yet memory is only one purpose. Dreams also serve as rehearsal. Consider how often we dream of being chased, of falling, of facing danger. These scenes may seem frightening, but the mind uses them as practice, running simulations for survival. Our ancestors may have sharpened instincts this way, preparing for threats without real-world risk. Even now, our dreaming minds rehearse conversations, decisions, and fears, turning chaos into readiness. Then, there is emotion. Each day, we collect feelings we cannot always face. Grief we hide, anger we suppress, joy we barely notice. In dreams, those emotions return, reshaped into symbols. The brain relives what it could not resolve, softening pain, amplifying joy, and allowing closure. In this sense, dreams are the night's quiet therapy. They speak in metaphor because truth is easier to face in disguise. Dreams are also engines of creativity. When logic sleeps, imagination wakes. The prefrontal guard is down, and the mind roams freely, combining ideas that never meet in daylight. Artists have painted what they saw in dreams. Musicians have woken with melodies still echoing in their heads. Scientists have glimpsed solutions between one world and the next. Paul McCartney once said the tune for yesterday came to him in a dream, and the chemist Kekulé saw a snake biting its tail, the clue to the ring structure of benzene. In dreaming, the mind experiments without fear of failure. Dreams may even help us practice connection. Some researchers believe that dreaming of others, talking, arguing, reconciling, strengthens our social understanding. In the private theater of sleep, we explore empathy. We see how we might act, forgive, or love. And yet, for all these insights, science still finds no single answer. Dreams seem to serve many purposes at once: memory, emotion, survival, creativity, empathy, all woven together like threads of one tapestry. Perhaps that's why they feel so rich and so impossible to define. But not every dream soothes or inspires. Some drag us into darkness. Nightmares grip us with fear, so real we wake in a sweat. Still, even those may have meaning. They force us to confront danger safely, to face what frightens us until it loses power. In this way, nightmares may be nature's rehearsal for courage. Each dream, gentle or violent, is part of the same ancient work, the mind tending to itself. To dream is not to escape reality, but to rebuild it. By morning, we rise slightly changed, carrying traces of the night's invisible labor. And yet, even now, another question lingers. If dreams can heal and teach and frighten, where exactly do they come from within us? Are they the voice of memory, or something deeper still? To answer that, we must look not only at what dreams do, but at what they mean, at how a single dream can alter the course of a life, or reveal something timeless about the human soul. Not all dreams are kind. Sometimes the same mind that paints skies and oceans turns inward and builds a storm. We call these storms nightmares. They arrive uninvited, vivid, emotional, unforgettable. Their images cling to us even after waking, lingering like echoes from another world. For many, nightmares are simply the cost of imagination, the price of a mind powerful enough to create beauty, and therefore also fear. But for others, they become something deeper, a mirror the mind cannot ignore. Psychologists have long wondered why the brain, built to protect us, would create experiences so terrifying they can wake us in panic. And yet, The answer may be that nightmares are protection. When we dream of falling, being chased, or facing danger, our brain rehearses the impossible. It simulates fear so that when daylight comes, we are ready to face it. Nightmares in this light are not punishments, but training grounds. They are the mind's way of saying, this is what danger feels like. Let's survive it together. In people who have faced trauma, nightmares often replay the moment that hurt them most. To relive it is painful. But some researchers believe this repetition helps the brain integrate what happened, to move the memory from chaos to understanding. It's as if the dream insists, you are still alive. You can face it again. And this time, you are safe. Still, for others, nightmares can become traps. In post-traumatic stress, the replay never ends. The dream loops night after night, turning healing into haunting. To break that loop, therapists use a method called imagery rehearsal therapy. The patient rewrites the dream while awake, changing its ending, then visualizes that new version before sleep. Over time, the mind learns the rewrite, and the nightmare fades. The story heals itself. Even those without trauma experience dark dreams. They come during stress, illness, or exhaustion, when the body demands rest, but the mind refuses to let go. Nightmares remind us that even rest has its shadows, yet within those shadows, there can be meaning. Fear in dreams often reveals what we avoid in life. Anger, guilt, sadness. They all find their way onto the stage of sleep because the mind cannot bear to leave them unspoken. To face a nightmare, then, is to listen. To see what part of you is calling for attention. Because behind every dark dream lies a message. Not from something outside us, but from within. And perhaps that is what makes nightmares strangely beautiful. They show us that the same imagination capable of creating paradise also has the courage to visit hell and come back. When the dream finally ends, and the dreamer opens their eyes, there is a small moment of quiet, a breath, a realization that they have survived the storm. The room is the same. The world is unchanged, and yet, something within has shifted. The faint sense that the darkness once faced no longer holds power. Because even in nightmares, the mind is trying to heal. It never stops reaching for balance, even when it must walk through fear to find it. Dreams do not belong only to philosophers or poets. They also belong to the ordinary, to those who sleep, wake, and wonder. Science, too, has begun to listen. One of the most curious findings in dream research began with something simple: a game. In the early 1990s, psychologists studied players of Tetris, the falling block puzzle known for its patterns. After hours of play, many reported seeing the shapes long after turning off the screen, even in their dreams. They dreamed of blocks stacking and shifting endlessly, as if the game had followed them into sleep. What surprised researchers most was this: even people with amnesia, who could not consciously remember playing, still saw the blocks in their dreams. Somewhere beneath awareness, the mind had kept the memory alive. This became known as the Tetris effect, proof that the brain continues to learn long after the lesson ends. But dreams are not only about practice, they can also be about pain. Veterans returning from war often describe reliving the battlefield night after night. Explosions, fear, the same unbearable moments replaying. At first it seems cruel, as though the brain is trapped in its own horror. Yet some scientists believe these nightmares are part of recovery, the mind's attempt to reframe the memory and reclaim control. There was once a soldier who dreamed the same ambush again and again, but slowly the dream changed. He began to find shelter, to fight back, to survive. His therapist called it the mind rewriting its own story. From pain, we move to creation. History is filled with dreamers whose visions shaped the waking world. Auguste Kekulé, the chemist, dreamed of a snake biting its tail and awoke with the structure of benzene. Paul McCartney heard a melody in his sleep. It became yesterday. Elias Howe, the inventor of the sewing machine, dreamed of warriors carrying spears with holes near the tips, the detail that solved his design. Each story reminds us that dreams are not idle fantasies, they are engines of invention. Even athletes dream in practice. Basketball players report shooting free throws in their sleep. Skiers carve courses that exist only in the mind. And when morning comes, performance improves as though the rehearsal were real. Dreams have also guided artists, writers, and composers, people who wake with entire worlds already formed within them. For them, sleep is not escape but collaboration. The subconscious becomes a co-author. In every case, from the gamer to the genius, from the soldier to the artist, the message is the same. Dreams do something. They rehearse, reveal, and sometimes repair. They show that the boundary between night and day is not a wall, but a doorway. And as science continues to study these stories, wiring sleepers to EEGs, mapping waves of our EM, decoding fragments of imagery, it keeps returning to one truth. The dreaming mind is not passive. It is alive, creative, emotional, and deeply human. Each night, within every sleeper, a hidden workshop comes alive, shaping who we'll be when morning comes. As our journey through the dream world nears its end, let us pause and gather the threads we've followed through the night. We've seen how every culture looked to dreams for guidance, from pharaohs and philosophers to shamans and saints. We've watched science open the sleeping brain, revealing rhythms and sparks of life within the quiet. We've heard stories of creation and healing, of people changed by visions that came when they least expected them. And still, one question remains. Why do we dream? The truth may be that there is not one answer, but many working together. Dreams may help us remember and forget, heal and imagine, survive and create. They are both art and function, both mystery and mechanism. Each night, when we close our eyes, the mind begins its secret work, cleaning, repairing, rehearsing, and exploring. It restores the body, but also reawakens the spirit. It arranges the facts of the day beside the feelings we hide, and somehow turns both into meaning. They are both art and function, both mystery and mechanism. Each night, when we close our eyes, the mind begins its secret work, cleaning, repairing, rehearsing, and exploring. It restores the body, but also reawakens the spirit. It arranges the facts of the day beside the feelings we hide, and somehow turns both into meaning. To dream is to remember that we are not machines of logic, but beings of story. Even when science explains the how, wonder remains in the why. Because what unfolds behind the eyelids is more than chemistry. It is consciousness, painting its own reflection. Maybe that's why we spend a third of our lives asleep. Because even in rest, the mind refuses to be silent. It keeps asking, keeps imagining, keeps reaching beyond itself. Dreams remind us that knowledge and mystery can coexist. That reason and wonder need not be enemies. They whisper that the universe we explore out there also exists within. So, as you drift into your own night's rest, think of the countless generations before you who did the same. The first dreamers who looked to the stars and wondered if their visions meant something. In that sense, we are all part of the same story. A story still being written every night in every sleeping mind. Dreams may never give us final answers, but perhaps that is their purpose, to keep us searching, imagining, awake to the mystery of our existence. Before we fade into darkness, I'd like to ask you something. What's the most vivid dream you've ever had? And have any of you experienced lucid dreams? Share it below. I'd love to read your story. Tell me what you'd like us to explore next. If you've enjoyed this quiet journey through the mysteries of the sleeping mind, consider liking and subscribing for more. Each week we wander a little deeper, from what was to what may be, and the mysteries that lie within. Until then, rest well, dream deeply, and we'll meet again in the next journey.